Hey students, today we will be working out the area of 2D shapes. Now some of you might be confused, you must be thinking, oh, what does 2D mean? 2D basically means two-dimensional. All the shapes that we covered a couple of lessons ago, such as the square, the triangle, and a rectangle, those are all two-dimensional shapes. So the learning objective is to be able to find the area of these 2D shapes. Some real-life examples include construction, engineering, and everyday problems. The keywords that we will be covering today are things like base, rectangle, height, area, and units. And by the end of this lesson, hopefully we should all be able to answer the question on the right-hand side. So now the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what is area? Now, this is the tricky bit because a lot of students do get confused between perimeter and area. So now it is important to remember that we know exactly what the perimeter is. So remember we said the perimeter is the total distance of the outside of a shape, whereas the area is the space taken up by a 2D shape. So if we were to put a tape around this little square here, the perimeter would be the total distance of the tape, whereas the area is the space that is inside of the shape. So one easy way to remember this is perimeter deals with the outside, whereas the area deals with the inside of the shape. Just to make sure that we understand, if I were to put a fence up around my garden, I will be dealing with the perimeter, so I'd have to work out the perimeter. Whereas if I were to put new grass down, I would be dealing with the inside of my garden, so I'd have to work out the area. So one way to measure the area is by looking at squares, just as we did with the perimeter. So we can look at 1 by 1, which means a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter square, and see how many times this fits into a shape. So on the right hand side we've got a rectangle shape, which is 2 centimeters by 5 centimeters. We're going to put this square into the rectangle and see how many squares we have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 squares that are in this box. So the answer to the question, which is work out the area of this rectangle, will be 10. Remember your units, centimeter, and this is the most important part. We need to add a little 2 at the top, which means squared. It is vital that we add this little 2, otherwise it will look like we worked out the perimeter. So here I'm going to do 2 examples, and then you'll have to pause the video for about half a minute to a minute, and I want you to attempt the 2 examples on the right hand side. So we've got a square here. I'm going to count how many boxes are inside, or squares inside, and work out the area. So we've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the answer to this question, what is the area of this shape, is 9 centimeters squared. Remember to always add that little 2. The second example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 squares. So the answer to this question will be 15 centimeters squared. Now if I can get you to pause the video and attempt the 2 questions on the right hand side. Right, so you have the answers up on the board now. If any of you missed the little 2 at the top, then you will lose a mark. So it's important you always add the little 2. So the first thing we would want to do in these kind of shapes, so you can see that we've got 2 halves here. So we're going to leave that till the end. So we're going to count the complete squares first. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. If I were to write 17 centimeters squared, I'd be getting it wrong, because I haven't included these little areas we've got here. So now if we look properly, we can see that this is exactly half of a square, and so is that. That's half of a square. So if we put these two little sides together, it would make one complete square. So we had 17 complete squares here. We just add one more, and the answer will be 18 centimeters squared. Moving on to the next shape, we've got 1, 2, 3. Like I said, we're only going to concentrate on the complete squares first. 4, 5, 6. And then we need to add the half squares together. So we've got one here, one here. That will make a complete square. Then we've got one here and one here. That will make another complete square. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 2 more squares. The final answer will be 8 centimeters squared. Now if I can get you to pause the video and have a go on the two questions at the right and see how you get on. The answers will be on the board when you come back. Right, you should have got 8 centimeters squared for both of the questions. Like I said, it's remember we always put our units down correctly. Right class, so this is going to be an independent task for this lesson. What I want you to do is take 3 shapes from the top. I want you to draw them down on a piece of paper and then calculate the area by counting the squares that are inside. And then I want you to take 2 shapes from the bottom and do the exact same. Draw the shapes down first, then count the squares inside and work out the area. Remember to write your units down correctly. And then after you've done this, I want you to take a picture and please upload that onto Class Charts for this lesson. Thank you for your time.